60 years had passed. Not loudly, not with celebration, but quietly, like a long road walked step by step. They were old now. Their backs bent slightly, their hands carried wrinkles, their movements were slow. Yet the bond between them was steady, familiar and deeply rooted, shaped by time rather than weakened by it. He woke before dawn as he had for most of his life. The room was dim, the air cool. Sitting up took effort now, and he paused for a moment, letting the stiffness in his knees settle. Beside him, she slept peacefully, her breathing soft and even. Her hair had turned completely white, and her face bore the marks of age. But to him, she was still the same person, who had once laughed freely and spoken with hope in her eyes. He moved quietly so he wouldn't disturb her. In the kitchen, he filled the kettle with water and placed it on the stove. These small routines were no longer tasks. They were habits built over decades. The house was silent, but the silence was not lonely. It was the kind of silence that comes from familiarity, from knowing exactly where you belong. As the tea boiled, he sat at the table, rubbing his hands together for warmth. His thoughts drifted back without effort. He remembered the early years when everything felt uncertain. They had been young then, full of plans but unsure of the future. Money had been tight. There were days when they worried about the next meal, nights when sleep came late because of fear and responsibility. Yet even then they had faced life together. The sound of the kettle pulled him back to the present. He poured the tea carefully and placed the cup where she would reach it easily. The smell slowly filled the room and made its way to the bedroom. A few minutes later, she stirred and opened her eyes. She looked at him and smiled, the same gentle smile she had given him for years. "You're up early again?" she said. "I never stopped," he replied simply. She sat up slowly, adjusting herself with care. Age had taken its toll on her joints, and mornings were harder than they used to be. He watched quietly, ready to help if she needed it, though she preferred to do things on her own as much as possible. They drank their tea together without speaking much. Conversation had changed over the years. They no longer felt the need to fill every moment with words. Silence had become comfortable, even meaningful. In that silence lived shared memories, unspoken understanding, and a sense of peace. After breakfast, he helped her with her shawl, and they moved to the living room. The sunlight entered through the window, falling softly on old furniture and framed photographs. There were pictures of their wedding, faded now but still precious. Photos of their children as babies, then as teenagers, then as adults. Each picture marked a phase of life they had walked through together. Life had tested them many times. There were arguments, misunderstandings, moments when emotions ran high. They were not perfect. There were days when pride kept them silent, when hurt words lingered longer than they should have. But they had always found their way back to each other. Apologies came, sometimes spoken, sometimes shown through actions. Forgiveness became easier with time. They had raised their children with care and sacrifice. Sleepless nights, school worries, illnesses, and responsibilities had filled many years. Together they had made decisions, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but always with the intention of doing their best. When their children finally grew up and left home, the house felt empty at first. The noise was gone, the daily rush had ended. But slowly they adjusted. The quiet became a space where they rediscovered each other. In the afternoon, he sat near the window reading the newspaper, though his eyes often tired quickly. She sat across from him, knitting slowly, her fingers no longer as quick as they once were. Every now and then, one of them would glance up at the other, not to say anything, just to check that the other was there. Sometimes she would forget small things now, where she placed her glasses, whether she had taken her medicine. When that happened, he never showed frustration. He simply reminded her gently or helped her look. Caring for her had become natural, just as she had cared for him during the years when he had been sick or weak. In the late afternoon, they took a short walk outside. He held her arm for support as they moved slowly along the familiar path. The world around them had changed over the years. New buildings, new faces, new ways of living. But they walked at their own pace, observing quietly, comfortable in their shared presence. As evening approached, they returned home. He prepared a simple meal while she sat nearby, watching. There was a time when she had cooked every day without rest. Now he took on more of the work, not because he was asked, but because it felt right. They ate together, speaking softly about small things. The weather, a memory from the past, a phone call from one of the children. After dinner, they sat in the courtyard as the sky darkened. The air was cool and the first stars appeared slowly. He handed her her medicine and waited until she took it. She smiled at him, gratitude clear in her eyes. "You always remember," she said. "So do you," he replied. "Just in different ways." They sat quietly, watching the night settle in. After a long pause, he spoke. "People say love fades with time," he said. She thought for a moment before answering. "Love doesn't fade," she said calmly. "It changes. It becomes quieter, but stronger." He nodded. He understood exactly what she meant. Love was no longer about excitement or grand gestures. It was about showing up every day, about patience when things were difficult, about staying even when life became heavy. Morning arrived gently, without urgency. The light slipped through the thin curtains and rested on the walls, touching the old photographs as if waking them too. He opened his eyes slowly, listening first. Her breathing was still there, soft and steady. That sound reassured him more than anything else ever could. He stayed still for a few moments, not wanting to disturb her. Age had taught him patience. There was no rush anymore. When he finally moved, he felt the familiar ache in his back and shoulders. He sat up carefully and waited until the stiffness eased. She stirred then, her eyes opening halfway. "You're awake," she murmured. "I didn't go anywhere," he said quietly. She smiled faintly and closed her eyes again, trusting him to be there when she opened them fully. That trust had grown over years, built through countless ordinary days. He went to the kitchen and began his routine. Water in the kettle, cups placed on the counter. Everything exactly where his hands expected it to be. As the tea brewed, he looked out the window. The street was already awake. People passed by, younger faces, hurried steps. He watched them with mild curiosity. Once he and she had moved like that too, rushing toward responsibilities, dreams, and expectations. Now life had slowed them down, and in that slowness, they had found something gentler. When he returned with the tea, she was sitting up, carefully adjusting the blanket around her legs. He handed her the cup, making sure it wasn't too hot. Their fingers touched briefly. It was a small thing, but it carried comfort. They drank quietly. After a while, she spoke. "I dreamed about our old house," she said. "The one near the fields." He nodded. "You loved that place." "It was hard," she replied. "But we were happy." "Yes," he said. "We were." Memories came easily now. They talked about the past more often, not with regret, but with acceptance. They remembered the days when the roof leaked during the rain, when money was counted carefully, when problems felt endless. Yet those were also the days when they laughed easily, when hope was strong. After breakfast, she sat by the window while he folded some clothes. His movements were slow but careful. She watched him for a long moment. "You've done enough," she said. "Sit down." "In a minute," he replied, finishing what he had started. She didn't insist. She had learned long ago that letting him do things in his own time mattered to him. When he finally sat beside her, she reached for his hand. "You're tired," she said. "So are you," he answered. They shared a small smile. Tiredness no longer felt like weakness. It was simply a sign of the life they had lived. Later that day, one of their children called. The voice on the phone was warm and concerned, asking about their health, promising to visit soon. After the call ended, the house returned to its quiet state. "They worry," she said. "They should," he replied. "That means we raised them well." The afternoon passed slowly. She rested while he sat nearby, sometimes reading, sometimes just watching the light move across the room. There were moments when she drifted into sleep, and he stayed awake, guarding that peace without realizing it. As the sun lowered, she woke and looked around, momentarily confused. He noticed immediately. "It's evening," he said gently. "You're home." She relaxed at his words. "I don't like it when I forget," she admitted softly. He leaned closer. "You remember what matters." That seemed to comfort her. She squeezed his hand, grounding herself in the present. They had faced many changes, but this one was new. Forgetfulness came and went, unpredictable and quiet. He never corrected her harshly or showed fear.